Share. And for those of you that have ever heard of a company called Meta Share's been around for 30 years. They paid out over $4 billion in claims. They're incredibly healthy. But you had to be a Christian, and you had to get an affidavit from your church, and you had to be in good standing with your church. Well, I must have been a bad Christian because no one ever told me about discounted healthcare at church. So I'm thinking of moving churches, because now that I found out this existed, I really wish I would have heard about it a long time ago. Well, when the Affordable Cares Act came, the government basically said, we can't keep this in the Christian community, that we've got to allow this to be, accessed by people that have no religious affiliation, or, maybe don't want the church in their business. So this company that we're going to share with you tonight is called Impact Health. And Impact Health is a non-profit, non-religion health share. And what they do is incredibly simple. They take money from members, people like us. We put money in a pool, and they pay the claims out as they come in. Now, the first thing that I did is I just compared it to what I had at the time. And I was with a company you're probably familiar with, Blue Cross Blue Shield. This particular family of four, I was paying $2,700 a month. You can see on my beautiful card, don't come to the emergency room without $600 out of your pocket. This was $2,700 to my family. Totally typical, been to United, been to Aetna. And here's what you're going to find. The more money you make in America, the more you pay for healthcare. Has nothing to do with your health. And I didn't know that, right? I kept on thinking to myself, like, what does average people do? Like, I'm, successful direct sales guy. What's the average American doing to, get healthcare? And come to find out, a lot of people are either underinsured, or in some cases don't even have it, or even have a job that they work, all because of healthcare. How many of us know people that have jobs because of healthcare? I'm finding people got married because of healthcare. Anyone know that one? Or stay married because of healthcare. So this is a very interesting product I got, with Impact Health. This is my card. You can see on my new fancy card, if you come to the hospital, bring $150 with you. So, again, there's a major savings for people that, that are like us, that are looking for that savings. Now, look, if I gave this to the hospital, they got paid. If I gave this to the hospital, they got paid. The only person that cares is the customer. This is costing my family $628 a month. This was costing my family $2,700 a month. This is a $24,000 a year savings. So the first thing I saw was bottom line savings. But can we agree, normally when we save money, we think we have to give something up, right? You pay less for something, and now you're giving something up. Well, this is completely opposite. Instead of a $6,000 deductible that I was going to have to pay with Blue Cross, I have a $2,500 deductible. Instead of it going against my income as normal health coverage does, this goes according to your age. So the beautiful part about this is that you only pay more as you naturally get older. And for those of you that are, in the Medicare community or know people that are, this actually can work as a supplemental. Now, how Impact works is incredibly simple. Just to give you an idea, somebody could go and take a look. You guys are going to have your very own landing page. People are going to be able to come. They're going to see your company. They're going to know this is your company. And people can do a number of things. Number one, they can get a quote. So just to give you an idea, it goes by your age. I'm just going to give you an idea what my quote was. So I'm a family of four. I was born 1972. And you can see how me with a $2,500 deductible, I would pay $628 a month. Now there's a 10% co-share, meaning after you hit $2,500, you pay 10% that is maxed out at $5,000 a household. So what's exciting about this is, let's say somebody had some questions, they could actually put their information in, and somebody from Impact would give them a call and walk them through the program if they had specific questions. Or if they're ready to get started, they can enroll and they can become a customer and get coverage right away. So what's nice about this is people don't have to wait for open enrollment or December, January like they normally would. This is 12 months out of the year, somebody can be a customer. Individuals, families, seniors, or even groups, people that want to do this for their business. Now, let's say that I was a single person and I didn't have a family. Again, This would be 288 for me as a single individual. So again, compared to anything else out there, 40, 50, 60% savings over what normal people would pay when it came to healthcare. Second advantage here, no network, meaning go to any doctor you want. How many of us like the fact that, God forbid, somebody in your family got sick, that they could go to the doctor that was best suited for whatever that sickness is? And I'll give you an example. One of my customers, their daughter has an eye issue. In the gentleman Googled the best ophthalmologist in the United States of America, happened to be in Tampa, Florida. Took his daughter to see that specific doctor because we don't have any network, meaning any doctor, John Hopkins University, go to any doctor you want. How many of us would pay more for that? You know, the freedom to not have to be restricted to the McDonald's doctor that, you know, United Healthcare tells you to go to, or Blue Cross tells you to go to. So this is how the back office works, just to give you guys an understanding. Couple things that I'll show you. One, you know, Mark and I, we were like kids. I was showing them everything I could. You have such a, you know, great leadership team here. But, you know, we were going back and forth. And I said, look, I personally took this product and I went to an emergency room. I happen to live in Dallas, Texas, and I got a $3,000 bill. Walked in, it was Denton Medical. It's a major emergency hospital here in the local community. August 21 is when I walked in the door. September 9th is when Impact received the bill. So they sent the bill on the September 9th. They completed the bill September 27th. What does that mean? Meaning the hospital got paid in literally less than 30 days. This is unheard of in the medical community. If you know anyone that's a doctor, they'll tell you they fight tooth and nail just to get paid. Now, my bill was $3,000. So if I didn't have any health care, I would have had to pay $3,000. That would have been what I paid. That was what the bill came to. But Impact Health negotiated over $2,725 off my bill. So in the end, I paid $150 to walk into the hospital, as I showed you on my card. In my x-ray, my blood work, my radiology, all came to $138. So my total bill was $288. Now, how many of us see here just the transparency of how this works and how a customer's bill is taken in and renegotiated and what you would have to pay? Now, just to give you some ideas, we have any doctor that we want to go to. So this is my home address. You can see that if I'm looking for, let's say, a pediatric doctor for my kids, I can pull up literally, if I didn't have a doctor, 2,400 doctors in my local community that I could go to and walk in with my Impact and get my child taken care of based on the fact that there's no restrictions on where I go. Now, the other thing is pharmaceutical. Those of you that ever had to buy pharmaceuticals, how many of us just sort of go to the drugstore and hope to God it's under $100, right? We don't even know what it costs, right? We get a script, we go to the doctor, we go, okay, I got to go to the, local pharmacy. So this woman needed a drug called metformin. And I never heard of it before. Come to find out, it's pretty popular. And her copay was over $60 a month for this drug. So I simply said that, hey, look, let me, see what you would pay with us. You're paying $60 a month with United Healthcare. That was her copay. So I put the drug in my back office. Any drug that anybody needs to take, we get discounts on drugs, meaning this company does not make money on pharmaceuticals. Come to find out, all the other healthcare companies make money on the drugs. This drug is actually $2.19 for a 30-day supply. Now, you can only imagine the look on her face when she realized she was paying $60 a month copay on top of what she was paying, for her health care here in the United States. This isn't even a rich person. This is just a normal working class person that could see right out of the gate they were going to save over $50 a month by just coming to Impact when it came to her specific medical needs or in this case, pharmaceutical needs. Now, here's what's blowing my mind. They're making money on the drugs. They're getting rich on the back of sick people. Now, the fact that we're a nonprofit organization means that there's no profiteering here, meaning what they do is very simple. Impact works like a normal healthcare provider. They have their own actuaries that come in and decide how much that everybody has to pay, and here's how they pay out. There's no lifetime limits, meaning once you're in, you're in. Now, when I met the executive team with Impact, here's what they said. In the last handful of years, we've lost less than 2% of our customers. What does that mean? That means people don't leave. Does that make sense? Like once you're in, you're in. Because if anything were to happen, or if you got sick or somebody that was a customer got sick, there's no lifetime spending limits. And they can't change the rate, meaning they won't change what you pay. God forbid somebody gets sick in a normal healthcare company, they're going to put you into what's called a high risk category. And now you're going to pay more for healthcare. And how do I know this? Well, one of my customers is a registered nurse. And you would think if you work at the hospital, you would get great health care. Come to find out, if you work at the hospital, you have bad health care. You know, it's almost like you're the plumber with a leaky sink at home. Well, come to find out, she happened to catch cancer and, you know, praise God, beat it, right? But here's what happened. She went into the high risk category, even though it was 10 years ago. Now, that's not a precondition for us, meaning if you're healthy and you don't have any symptoms, and for the last 3 years you haven't had to take any real medication for that, that's a non-issue with us. We were able to bring her into Impact Health. She was able to go from $800 as a single woman down to $246. So can we agree she's saving some serious money? Her deductible went from $5,000 down to $2,500. So half the deductible, a $500 plus savings for her, over $6,000 a year back in her pocket. And here's what she was the most excited about, was the fact that this was something that she could promote and she could tell other people about because of what it did for her testimonial. Now, just to give you an idea, a little bit about Impact. First thing I want you to know is the company has had a lot of success, and they're really experiencing a tremendous amount of momentum only because everybody's getting sticker shock with the cost of healthcare in America. So this is completely affordable. Affordable healthcare. It's modern. It's an alternative to health insurance. It works better. It feels better. It's just an incredible product when you really take the time to study it. Now, if you take a look at some of the advantages specific to Impact Health, is it's affordable. How many of us agree they call it the Affordable Cares Act? How many of you agree it should have been named the Unaffordable Cares Act? Right? You and I are paying more money than we ever had. And it's not like the service is better or, you know, all these great things came along with the price tag. It's just the fact that these healthcare companies are charging an arm and a leg. Number two, it's comprehensive. Meaning, can you imagine 50 chiropractor visits a year included in the membership? So there's preventative. They actually will give you a free physical and free blood work every year just to make sure that us, the members, save money. If we can catch something earlier, God forbid somebody's sick, then we can know about it right away. And the sooner you get treatment, obviously, the less expensive that's going to be. We cover mental health. Do you realize in 2022, that major healthcare providers will not pay for mental health, especially after a pandemic and everything all of us have been through? Heck, I think that should be something that all of us should have as just getting health coverage in America. Now, I talked about the prescription discounts. Great. You saw it in your own eyes. The savings speak for themselves. And then telemedicine 24 hours a day. You know, here's what I find, especially for people that have children, most of the time they just need a Z-Pack or whatever they give kids, some sort of script that's, you know, gets them feeling a little better. I've used telemedicine multiple times. It's the ease, it's the convenience, and you're talking to a doctor on literally on a Zoom type technology. Now, no network restrictions. Go to any doctor you want. This part is big. And the reason why we can go to any doctor is at the end, we're a cash customer, meaning how we're looked at, we're looked like we pay cash. So that's why anybody can go to us, or any doctor will take us, because any doctor, as you can only imagine, loves to get cash payment. And then no open enrollment restrictions. So that means that anytime you meet somebody that says, hey, I want to be a part of your company, they're going to be able to sign up and get immediate benefit. And in my case, save over $24,000 a year on my healthcare. Now, we can do singles. I showed you some of the pricing of singles are as low as $73. Again, they can price themselves. They're going to be able to go. They're going to be able to get a pricing right from your direct link. that's going to be created from Impact Health exclusively for you guys and for your membership community. So imagine when it comes to talking to people about the advantages, on top of all the advantages we already know your company offers, this is going to be a huge advantage because of the savings that people are going to see. Seniors, again, still have to get something as a supplemental. Great. How many of you are talking to business owners, right, that are coming in and seeing all the benefits that is being a part of your company? And now those business owners can offer affordable health coverage to their employees. Do you realize that people today are quitting jobs because the employer cannot afford to give them health coverage? Right? Because can we agree, most small business in America don't have the necessary resources to provide health care when it comes to their employees. And then I showed you a little bit about families where 3 or more, you can pay as little as $378 a month. And it doesn't matter if you have 3 kids or 5 kids or 6 kids, the price doesn't go up. It's 3 plus. What does that mean? That means if you have 4 kids, it's the same price if you have 2 kids. So that's a real big opportunity for us when it comes to providing a solution. Now, look, this is an Airbnb of healthcare. And what do I mean by that? Can we agree Marriott didn't come up with Airbnb? Hilton didn't come up with Airbnb. It was a third-party company that said, hey, let's rethink about the way that we have accommodations. Now, look, I didn't jump into Airbnb the first time somebody told it to me. How many of us needed a little education? Right? Here's what I kept thinking to myself. I'm not sleeping on someone's couch, right? I'm beyond those days, right? I finally made enough money I can afford a hotel room. But it wasn't until I tried it did I see the value of it. How many of us would agree now, if you're going to Orlando with your 5 children, the last thing you're going to do is stay at a hotel? You're going to get yourself an Airbnb, multiple rooms. It's going to feel like home, but the savings are significant. Can we agree, square foot to square foot, you're saving a ton of money compared to what you're getting at the Marriott, meaning their little box room for $250 or a 3-bedroom condo for $250. Good, a little different, but works the same. Let's look at Uber. Uber didn't come out of the cab industry. It was a third-party company that said, let's rethink the way we do transportation. Now, how many of you were a little skeptical when it came to Uber? I'm not getting in the car with a stranger. How does it work, right? No one's ever going to do it. Today, none of us even know how to call a cab. How many of us would agree? I don't even know where I'm at half the time. Uber knows where I'm at. So it took a little re-education. It took a little bit of understanding that, look, it's different, but it's better. Can we agree that NBC didn't come up with the newest entertainment? It was YouTube, a completely outside entity that said, hey, let's rethink entertainment and education in America, now globally. Now, the reason I'm taking a minute and talk about this, health share has been around for 40 years. But here was the difference. One, you had to be a Christian to get in. Can we agree? Probably turned some people off or maybe didn't dig deep enough to get involved. Number 2, you had to pay the bill first and then you got reimbursed. So that meant if I had that $3,000 bill from the hospital, I would have to pay the $3,000 bill. Then I would send it in for me to get reimbursed. But even people that have done that still swore by it because the savings spoke for themselves. Does that make sense? Even with the little inconvenience, people still that were with Medishare never left because of the fact that it was less expensive than what they were accustomed to paying with Blue Cross, Aetna, United, and the others. Now, here's the other thing you want to think about. How many of us would agree savings moves the needle? Like, look, if Mark called me up and said, Patrick, I think I can save you $20,000 on healthcare, even if I didn't believe him, I'm listening, yes or no, right? And he's going to get me to the meeting, right? And I'm going to sit at the meeting, even my arms across, and then hey, what's your date of birth? And $628. And I go, well, heck, I'm paying $2,700. Like, how can that even be possible? And if you lay it down line by line, item by item, one, this is completely nonprofit. So there's no profiteering here. 2, they show you everything. And here's what I mean. This is my back office again. I can take a look at my account. And the one thing that you're going to see is that I have a balance in my account, right? So they took out of the $2,383 that I've given them so far, $968 went to Sharon, meaning paid people's medical bills. Well, praise God. I'm glad that somebody's medical bills got paid. But when you take a look at the company, they show you everything. Here's the community. Here's how much money they have in the pool. They collected over $10 million. At the end of this month, they're going to refill up the pool with all the members that they already have. Here's what they paid when it came to people that needed their bills paid: 23,000, 21,000, 19,000, 12,000. These are people that got their medical bills paid because of the share. Now, here's what I love. With you guys becoming a part of this opportunity and acquiring customers, how many of us see millions of people in the future? Right? I'm showing you a couple thousand now. We're going to put on thousands and thousands of customers, I believe, a week, based on the fact that people are waking up to saying, hey, look, there has to be a better option for my family than what I'm paying right now. And here's my experience. How many of you agree that healthy people are being penalized for being healthy? Right? Healthy people. Look, I know as an entrepreneur, how many of us agree no one's coming to our rescue? Right? So we go to work when we're not feeling well. We have a tendency to be a little more health conscious because we know no one's coming to our rescue. If we can't show up, can we agree no one's going to show up on our behalf? So I personally believe in the future, you're going to have two things. You're going to have traditional health insurance, what all of us grew up with. And I think on the second side, you're going to have health share. Now, can we agree these concepts just make a lot of sense? Now, everybody has some questions. And look, I had a million questions. I called the commissioner to insurance in the state of South Carolina. His name's Scott Richardson. And I called Scott Richardson. I said, Scott, how don't I have to have a license to sell this? Like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, why don't I have a license? He said, because it's not insurance. This is a voluntary nonprofit insurance. Okay. He said, think about what insurance companies do. They collect a bunch of money from us, correct? They have it in a pool and they pay out according to claims. But in traditional health insurance, their job is not to pay. Can we agree? Their job is to deny claims, right? Because the more money they keep in their pot, the more money they make in profits. So if you look at United Healthcare in the last quarter, they made $5 billion in profits. How did they make $5 billion in profits? Can we agree part of that came in from denying claims? How many of you have ever had a claim denied? And I'll give you my real story. So my wife had, we have a home in Florida. I was at the time living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she called and said, hey, I'm not feeling good. I really have stomach pain. I'm thinking, oh, you probably ate something. You know what I mean? Like, give it an hour. It's getting worse. I said, okay, now this is, night. And so she said, I'm going to go to the emergency room. So she's looking through the policy. What hospital is in our network? How many of you ever had to do that? Like, you're in pain. You're like, the last thing you need to do when you're not feeling good is like, where do I need to go? So she literally took an Uber to the emergency room. Come to find out, her appendix were rupturing. So immediate OR, took her upstairs, praise God, everything was okay. She was fine. Now I'm paying $2,700 a month for health coverage. Okay, everybody clear on this conversation? I get an $8,000 bill because the anesthesiologist was out of network. Now, we have resources here, right? We're networkers, right? Can we agree? We know how to write letters. We all have a lawyer somewhere in our life, right? So I'm on the phone. I'm writing letters. I'm shooting a lawyer letter over to, at the time we were still with Blue Cross, and they finally cleared it up. That bill went to her credit. Does that make sense? Because we didn't pay the bill in the first 30 days, that went to credit. Eventually they paid, but after her credit already got a blemish on it, right? So I share that story with you because when I talked to Scott Richardson, here's what he said. He goes, look, you won't lose any customers to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but they're about to lose a lot of customers to you. Because this is for people that are thinkers. And what do I mean by that? We have guidelines that all of you guys can look at. If you want to have a baby at home, they pay for the medulla. You know what I mean? They tell you exactly what they pay. They show you exactly what they cover. They show you every little thing that you and I normally don't see, because we get how many of you got a list like this of all the things that your local healthcare provider, right? How many of you got one of these books, right? Of all the things that they try to stop you doing. Here's what I got from Impact. I keep my welcoming letter, but here's what it says. Step 1. Choose any medical provider that you like. No network here. Just see the provider that's best for your family. Step 2, it says present your Impact card and ask the provider to bill Impact using the information on the back of the card. Step 3, for non-emergency, consider using telemedicine. It's free. How many of us love this, right? So you can get coverage in all 50 states. Right now, there's 3 states that we can't sign a customer up yet, just because we haven't gotten enough, if you will, need from those particular states. One is Rhode Island, one is New Jersey, and one is Washington. Those are the 3 states that we cannot sign a customer. Now, if you get sick in those states, they're going to take you, they're going to take care of everything. There's going to be no issues or problems. But as we become bigger, because remember, they're nonprofit, so they don't want to go spend money on licensing if we have 10 customers. So if we get a demand, and as we naturally will, and we put together a lot of people, they will open up the last 3 states for us. They're just their little licensing, and they're expensive, and they're nonprofit. So here's what's interesting. The money that isn't used has to go back to the members. The money that isn't used has to go back to the member. Now, before we've got involved here with Mark and the team, and we're about to bring them thousands of customers on a monthly basis, here's what we figured out. Last year, without our involvement, they gave back over $700,000 to members. So they had to give back the money, because after the actuaries come up with the reserve, that's what they call the reserve of money. Here's what we need according to the actuaries. Great, the rest of the money has to go back because it's no longer needed, and this is a nonprofit. Now think about it. They made it through COVID. How many of us agree that's the black swan? When people were like, how do we know they're going to make it? If you made it through COVID in business, can we agree you're doing something good? Right? Especially if you didn't get a whole bunch of governmental money, and they didn't get any of that stuff. They're a nonprofit entity. They weren't in any line for a bunch of funding from the government. So the concept is new in the sense that it's going to go outside of the Christian community. The people that put this together, they actually had the former president and the former CEO of MediShare as their consultants to build it with the technology that you see here today, with where the shares go, where the medical facility, all the stuff that you saw in the back office, they paid millions of dollars to set up in order for them to have something that's completely scalable. So, we're, as you can tell, pretty excited about it all. I said to Mark, I'll probably only be 15 minutes, but you can see as I get talking, I can go on all day, and I'll go toe to toe with any healthcare company out there, because here's what I'm finding. People don't know the garbage they have until they have to use it. It's like the spare tire in your car. Can we agree? We just assume that it works. We assume that it has air in it. We assume that it fits the wheel of the car that we're driving. And then, God forbid, we're in the middle of the night, our tire blows, we open up the trunk, and the tire don't fit, and it doesn't have any air in it. How many of us agree that's a bad time to find out that you didn't have a good product? Is when you need it. And this is what I'm finding. Most people don't know how bad this product is until they have to use it. And when they find out how bad their product is, that's why I love this one. There's no negativity. If you look at shares, there's no negativity. Like, you Google shares, go read everything you want to read about shares. The only negative they're going to say is the Christian thing, where I had to pay the bill first before they paid me. Outside of that, there is nothing negative. And that's hard to do in business in the world we live in today, because they're a nonprofit. They're so transparent. They'll tell you everything because there's no reason for them not to tell. So I hope I served you guys. I know, Mark, we're going to have this. I hope before we pop the champagne bottle at the end of this year. I know that they're working really hard to make sure that you guys have your own website, your own link. We can always send leads into Impact. I personally quote everybody first because I want them to see it with their own eyes. So you'll have the ability to quote people just like I did, so that they can see with their own eyes, hey, what would they pay? And then if they decide that this is a fit, great, they're going to be a member of your company. It's going to give you another reason, number 157,000th reason why they should sign up with your company and be a part of your movement as an organization as you guys take fire. And I see that happening with my own eyes. This has been extremely exciting to be a part of what you guys are creating. And just know that this is going to be a disruptor in a broken $4 trillion healthcare industry. And let me tell you who are the most upset: the doctors. You want to ruin a doctor's day? Say United Healthcare. If you want to get a doctor upset over Christmas, call them up and say Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Every doctor in America hates those companies because they've got to fight every day to get paid. How many of you remembered 20 years ago, doctors had their own little offices, 1 or 2 little employees? You know why they have to group together? They have to group together just to get paid. They need a collection department as big as the companies that are keeping the money. I look at United Healthcare and Aetna and Blue Cross. They're like the mob. They're great at collecting money, bad at paying. How many of you would agree with that? I mean, they're just holding it all in on their side and not wanting to give it out as they should do based on the agreement that we all have going into these type of situations. So this is going to be exciting. They're all looked as cash customer. That's why every doctor takes them, because they're a cash customer at the end of the day. And that's why we don't have any network limitations. So Mark, I hope I served you and your leadership well here tonight. I don't know if there's anything you needed me to highlight on top of what I already took time and talked about.
Well, I'm just going to point out a couple of things that I was so impressed with, and you answered those questions, but I want to highlight them briefly. And one is a company that looks out for you regarding negotiating the bill down. We were on a vacation with another couple 2 years ago. It was out of their network. The bill was ridiculous. And when they got the bill at home, it was $191 for a smoking consultation. And a nurse came in and said to my friend's wife, so do you smoke? She goes, yeah. And the gal left. And they charged $190 for that. My friend didn't know other things to battle about. You know, he didn't know other things that could be reduced, but that's what impact does. That's really important. And when you say money back at the end of the year, I think you showed us one time in your back office, at the end of the year, after they have the reserve set, I think you got back like over $1,000 put back into your account. So that's powerful. And then the last thing I want to say is, Patrick got us our team on the Zoom with the team from Impact, the CEO, all the leaders. It was extremely impressive. And one thing that I usually do is I share that all our officers are faith-based and we're family people. That's from my heart. And boy, that triggered something special with him. And so it's just it's an honest group of people. And I just couldn't be more grateful. Thank you, Patrick. So I do want to open it up to anybody that has any questions for Patrick.
Patrick, there's a question about, are there deductibles? Do they pay for x-rays and scans?
Yeah, they pay for everything medical. So x-rays, blood work, radiology, just like normal healthcare, they pay for everything. So as long as if you're below your deductible, that's going to be you pay. If you're above your deductible, they pay. It's part of the share. The share pays.
Oh. So if sorry, Patrick, to clarify that. So the first X amount of deductible you pay, and then you pay 10% over that. So they're covering up 90% of those fees after you've crossed your deductible.
Correct. And it's maxed out at $5,000 for your family. So let's say, God forbid, one person in your family had, a major surgery and you had the 10%, but it maxed out at $5,000, and somebody else in your family got sick the same year, they would be zero money out of pocket. So, that's the benefit. United Healthcare has a copay that never ends. So that's what people don't see. I had one guy say, well, my deductible is $500, but he had a copay that was never stopped. So it was like, your deductible is never going to stop because it's 10% with the, never ending copay with United. And Jeff, I know you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you that I'm part of one of the very similar programs called Christian Healthcare Ministries that I've been with for several years. And so I'm wondering the way that it works is, if I go to the emergency room or whatever it is, and let's say they give me, well, I have a $5,000 deductible. So then if I go have a procedure done or whatever, and let's say it costs me $15,000, but the hospital, because I'm self-pay cash, they give me a $5,000 discount. Well, the way Christian healthcare works is that essentially covers my deductible. Since they gave me a discount, that much of a discount, that goes toward my deductible. So essentially I don't have to pay anything. Does your program work the same way? Or how do they deal with that?
Yeah, so great question. We operate like health insurance in the sense that the bills go to Impact. Impact negotiates the bill, and then they'll pay the bill. So the benefit of this program, God forbid somebody needs $100,000 worth of, of operations, they will pay that bill, and then, you know what I mean, if you just pay your deductible and then they pay the rest. So the benefit to the program is, I know with the Christian shares, and yours is one of those, is you got to pay it. So a lot of Americans don't, I mean, you're, a unique situation, but most people don't have the 50, 60,000 laying around, God forbid, if they need it to pay and then get their reimbursement.
Yeah, no, I like that because I have to handle everything. But, I have to deal with the hospital. I have to ask for the discount. I have to do all the paperwork. And then all I do, I have to gather all the paperwork. I have to write a letter stating everything. And then I have to send that to Christian Healthcare. And they, like you said, they reimburse me. So I have to pay up front and then get reimbursed. So I like this deal better.
This feels, looks, smells like insurance. You know what I mean? That's what I like so much, to your point, Jeff, because I have people that are using this that, but again, you're a great candidate, because think about this. Even with those little hurdles that Jeff talked about, he's still a customer of theirs because the savings speaks for themselves.
Oh, yeah. What you mentioned about Affordable Care Act earlier, that was the reason that I went with this program, because before that, I'm self-employed. So before that, I had regular insurance, traditional insurance. Overnight, my premiums tripled because of the Affordable Care Act. So that's when I started searching, and I found this, the share program. So,
and Jeff, imagine this. I just signed up somebody that goes, I never thought about bringing it to my employees. Has a small plumbing business, right? 13 employees. He was like you. He was on a Christian share, couldn't get him off it if you wanted to, like you, saw the value, the savings spoke for themselves. And he was like, give it to my employees. So instead of giving him a Christmas bonus, he's like, I'll pay everybody's health care, because it's $288. It's $300. Like, perceived value is $1,800. Now, how many of us, if your employer told you on Monday, hey guys, I'm going to pay for your healthcare 2023, how many of you would tell everybody, I got the best job in America, they just paid for my healthcare? Because it's affordable based on the fact that the way the company operates. So I appreciate you being on, Jeff, and bringing some clarity to this world. I wish I would have known about it before, but like you, you know what I mean? I think the cost was getting out of control.
Yeah.
I'll jump in real quick and add this. Patrick has worked out a way that it's actually going to be less expensive to be a member of Soveres than if you were to go direct to Impact. On top of that, it's commissionable to our members. So it's just kind of like it gets better and better. And thank you, Patrick. He's hit a long ball here for us. Thank you.
Yeah, so you guys will have a better deal than anybody else when it comes to getting it. Now, remember, they're nonprofits, so we're already to the bone. So you know what I mean? Like, this is really exciting, and it's only going to be for you guys. I mean, nobody else is going to be able to say, hey, we're going to charge you less than even anybody that would find that on their own. And then two, you guys are going to make a lifelong commission, meaning if they stay on the service for 50 years, you're going to make money for 50 years. So there's no end to the money. And now remember, once you're in, you're in. So nobody gets out. Like, once they get in, like, I had a gentleman come to my house that was detailing my car. And I said, look, sign up. If you go get a health exam in January and they find something, that's a precondition, and you're not going to be let into our share because you are sick. But if you sign up today and 30 days from now they find something, it's okay. You're part of the community. We're going to pay your bills because we can't kick you out. There's no way to get kicked out. You have to voluntarily leave.
Bo.
Yeah, and another question that came up, and I want to just make sure this is right. Nobody needs to have an insurance license, right? So we can all sell it.
That's why I called the commissioner of insurance. Like, why don't I have? Because I know I've never dealt in the insurance community because of the fact that you had to get a license for every state and all the other hurdles that keep people like us from wanting to get in that industry.
So I'll jump in here because I'm going to turn it over to Bruce, and after I make this comment. Now, Bruce, I'm going to just share. Bruce is our VP of insurance, and he's nodding his head. He has a 33 years experience in this industry. And Bruce, I'd love for you to share and ask your question for Patrick.
Well, everything he's saying is so accurately true. I mean, painfully, let me rephrase that, not accurately, painfully true. In 35 years, I sometimes am a little nervous introducing myself as an insurance agent. You gotta know your audience. So the one question, Patrick, because most of my questions have been answered throughout the conversation, you were mentioning about co-pays. Now, you might have lost me in the shuffle, but if I go to the ER, do I have a copay, or is that going against my deductible?
Great question. This is your office visit cost would be $150 for an ER. So you would pay the $150, and then everything else would go against your deductible if you haven't met it, or they would pay with the share if you're already at your deductible.
Okay, and that's why I was asking the question, because when you held it up before, it was blurred out by the filter, and so I couldn't see what the numbers were.
Oh, yes.
So I'm talking to an independent entrepreneur. I say, I think you should take a look at this. All right. Now, what about all of the annual stuff? And in ACA, they call it the MECs, the minimum essential coverage. All right. Most MECs on traditional health insurance are a $0 copay because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. They want you to have the colonoscopy. They want you to have the screenings. They want you to have everything that is going to cost less than the actual treatment of the illness that was not caught early. So on this particular plan, how are the annual MECs handled?
Same thing, Bruce. I'm always afraid to talk because you have so much experience in this world. But one, colonoscopy is covered. They will also mammograms. There's also a free physical with blood work every year. So they encourage everybody to get that. To your point, the healthier the group is, the less we're going to drain money out of the pool. So we're coming in number one with the Jeffs of the world that, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we'll all stay healthy because the healthier we are, obviously, the less money's going to come out. Number two, because of all the preventative stuff, to your point, the sooner we get on it, the sooner that we can actually get it taken care of and less money out of pocket. But three, we had a woman that signed up, got her physical, found something, had a very unique cancer, not something that's typical, and I don't want to get in all the details, but the best doctors for what she had was Johns Hopkins. She lives in Connecticut. She went right to Johns Hopkins, ended up going there for treatment, didn't have to go get a referral letter, didn't have to get 10 other people to tell her that's where, you're allowed or not allowed to go, went there immediately. So one, quick response. Two, got her under treatment immediately, looking at a full recovery. And a lot of that has to do with didn't have to wait for 5 or 6 other people's opinion before they said, hey, we're going to let you go, because the doctors are dictated by the insurance company. Meaning if you get only 2 days with hospital rest based on what you have, on the 3rd day, they're throwing you out. The doctor has the freedom to tell you what care you need to have without the handcuffs of the insurance company saying we will not pay. Because remember, we're a share. We want to pay. We don't want to not pay. That's why we have $10 million sitting there to pay in case somebody needs the actual claim paid.
That's a really good point too, because interestingly enough, yesterday I was talking about how we should be offering cancer insurance, and then today my sister called to let me know my brother-in-law has been diagnosed with some very aggressive rare cancer, and the doctor, poor bedside manner, said, enjoy this Christmas with your family, it might be your last. All right, now a lot of people are being referred to in my area, Cleveland Clinic or Mayo, Johns Hopkins, and a lot of times it's out of network. All right, so they're being treated, but they're not being treated. So I appreciate you bringing up Johns Hopkins. That's a very important point. when you get a diagnosis like that, you want to go to the best place, not who's in my network. So thank you very much for clarifying that.
And, prayers for your brother-in-law, and,
Thank you.
We will hope for the best. And
Yeah, it's been a rough day.
I can only imagine. But this is something where I'm a father. All of us here have family. Look, if the best doctor in the world was at Johns Hopkins and it was out of network, I would sell my house and take the money and give it to the doctor.
I actually did that years ago. I lost my 45 acres in custom log home because my daughter needed emergency open heart surgery. It wasn't covered, and so I liquidated everything. And she's 18 now, so I actually did give up everything, for her to still be alive. But the thing about this with the no networks and everything else, even with the $5,000 deductible, if you're saving $2,000 a month times 12 months, all right, I would pay $5,000 to save $24,000 all day long. So that's a no-brainer. I like no-brainer.
And you can adjust the deductible. It'll go as low as $2,500. So there is a $2,500 option on there as well. You can change your deductible every year at your anniversary. So let's say that you're younger on here and you go, I want the $10,000 deductible because I'm 31 and I'm completely, out of harm's way in my mind. But I became 51 and now I want to go to the lower deductible because I might break down a little more often at 51 than 31.
Let me just ask this one other question and I'll stop because I see Carol Sue's been very patient here. So I've got, let's just say, for example, that we've got somebody pre-X, 34 months, all right? When they hit their 37th month, are they in?
Yep.
All right.
They're in. Which, in this community is such a huge deal because, you know what I mean, they're looked at differently through traditional healthcare eyes.
Of course. I mean, how many objections do you get about adverse selection?
Yep.
All right.
I think you guys will be able to recruit with this product, with your buffet of benefits, because think about it from a recruiter perspective. We're all about distribution here. We're going to put 10,000 members on, 100,000 members on, 200,000 members on. I personally believe it'll go viral because of two reasons. One, a bad economy. How many of you agree a bad economy, price matters? Price matters. Jeff said what? When his double-digit insurance came in, Jeff went out and found a Christian share because financially he had to. It made financial sense. Number two, lose your job, lose your health care. 10,000 people lost their job at Facebook. 10,000 people lost at Amazon. 8% of people that work at Goldman Sachs will no longer have a job at the beginning of 2023. Now, they don't have any health care. Contractors at the hospital, every nurse that's on a contract has to go to COBRA. Why? Open enrollment. You have so many recruiting opportunities here. If you just think truck drivers that don't want to network because they travel the country. Right? How many of us would agree? People that are, how many of us have people that want to be an entrepreneur, but because of healthcare, they don't take the step? For $288, you can drive Uber on a Sunday and pay your healthcare for the month. So there's so many advantages to having this from a recruiting perspective and allowing that to bring your membership numbers up to where I know the critical mass will start to happen. And Carol, I know that you had a question.
I do. Yes, I do have a question. I heard you say something about the doctors not liking certain insurance, and it seems to me like doctors would love this insurance. Would you agree?
I've signed up anesthesiologists, I've signed up chiropractors, licensed practical nurses, registered nurses, because they hate them. Because remember,
I'm thinking this is a great thing because then doctors know that they'll get paid.
Right.
And they don't have to deal with those other ones.
Right.
So I'm just thinking of and I'm thinking of a big doctor who happens to be really sick right now. And he's actually promoting his own kind of health thing, health insurance.
Yes, they do like a monthly
I'm thinking this is
subscription.
actually, and I'm part of his investment group.
Yep.
But I'm actually thinking this is better than what he's promoting.
It is, because what they're doing is on a very small level. You pay a monthly reoccurring charge, but they can go into their facility to get treatment. And so that's what's happening. They're becoming these micro type facilities because the cost is out of control. I mean, it's just one of those situations is, price drives action. If gas was $1 a gallon, nobody would have an electric car.
And nobody should
would
have an
stand in
electric
front
car.
of a
Those things are
plug for 3
downright stupid.
hours. Mhm.
Patrick, there
I
are a
mean,
lot of
I know-
questions in the chat, by the way, so
Yeah,
I don't know if we
to,
want to.
yeah,
Well, so my point was, the program he has, the people that want to sell it have to get insurance. I mean, they have to get their license. So this is so much better. I see this as doing really well. And I just got someone sent me she on Facebook. She's 40 years old and she's all upset because her insurance is so high. So I want to make sure I can get a copy of this to her. I wanted to get her on the call, but I didn't know it was going to be about health insurance. But this is the perfect thing for her. So I would like to get a copy of that if that's possible.
Yeah, and it'll be on the website real soon. Thank you, Carol Sue. And I there are so many questions in the. We're not going to be able to get to them all. What I'd like everybody to do is send them in to info@soveres.com, and I'll give a chance so Patrick can look at them, and we'll get them all answered. And there's several on here, Patrick, that people are asking. I've got a brother-in-law who's a trucker who needs this immediately. And then another person said, I want to sign up today. You can get a little feel for the buzz and the energy regarding this solution. Patrick told me, Mark, I wouldn't be surprised if you weren't having a next quarter, even 1,000 people coming in. I think he said per day, maybe he said per week, but imagine the growth when people find out about this. It's just so exciting.
It's gonna go crazy, Mark. I can attest to that because people don't know about this option. I didn't know about this option. And the only reason I know is because my wife's father is a minister. And so a lot of people ministers, preachers had that kind of insurance, and because it was very just a Christianity kind of thing. And so I think the masses don't really know about this option. And once they find out about it, yeah, it's gonna blow up.
And the only reason
I'm already on this plan, but I'm ready to switch to this one because it sounds like it's even better than the one that I'm on.
Jeff, I can't agree with you more. And I would have switched if I would have known. The only reason I didn't dig deep, it was a Christian, because I'm always skeptical about insurance. Like, oh, they got you. You didn't go to church this week. That's deny the claim. You know what I mean? So that was just my, same reason I didn't go to Airbnb the first time I heard. I'm like, I'm not sleeping on the couch. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It's going to take a minute of education, but the Jeffs of the world will be the educators. Does that make sense? Like, Jeff's 3 years into this. This isn't something that he will be your in-house expert just to share from his perspective what it did for him and how it brought his costs down to reality when it comes to healthcare in the United States. And Bruce, I know you had your hand up.
I want to say this before we end this call, because this is something very, very important for everyone to know. One of the greatest travesties of the Affordable Care Act was that there is a question in the marketplace. Is insurance available through your employer? If you answer yes to that question, you're out. You cannot participate in Obamacare. All right. Now, here's the problem. With insurance rates going higher and higher, employers have been changing the plans, higher deductibles, lower benefits, and increasing the employees' participation rate in the plans. So there might be people who are working to have benefits, but they're crappy benefits and they're very expensive. All right. But they're trapped. They can't leave this crappy plan. All right, that's very expensive, because if they try to go onto the marketplace and buy an individual plan, they have to answer yes, that insurance is available through an employer. And as soon as they do that, they're kicked out of the marketplace. They're denied. Okay, so they're stuck. All right, now when you've got something like this, if they don't have a pre-existing condition in the last 3 years, they could leave that expensive, crappy employer insurance and pick up a plan like this and actually have real benefits at an affordable rate. So don't think just because somebody's working and has group insurance that they're not a candidate. They're probably a candidate more than some other people.
All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up and close with this. It's only because of Patrick and Marissa brought Patrick in. Patrick has a relationship with Cammie. This is the divine connection that we have here, and it's because of him. Companies can't just get in impact like we did. Patrick made this happen. And I've signed a contract with that company that includes what I talked about earlier, which is it costs less and it's commissionable. So this is just gold for our company. So what I'm going to do Thursday at the meeting is I'm going to talk about this solution, a couple of the new ones coming up, and how that's going to impact all of our the difference next year, not just in our income, but with how many people that we're going to help. Saving money literally through what Patrick has done and making money through what the leverage that this is going to be to explode the membership, which is also going to explode your businesses.
Patrick, can you hold up your card before we leave?
It's next to my children's picture. This is my favorite. So
Patrick, before we go, I just wanted to ask you, what do we need to do to bring this to New Jersey?
A great question, Deborah. A couple things. One, member participation. So they have to buy a license. So because they're a nonprofit entity, they don't want to spend money without knowing they have customers, because they have to be governed by a board, and they have only a certain amount of money they're allowed to spend for anything. So we just need member participation. So if you said, hey, look, I would like to put on, a couple hundred customers, or we know we can, great. We'll get Phil, the CEO that Mark got a chance to meet, and he loves this organization, and, lit up when he talked about core values and sort of aligned exactly with Phil and their organization. So that's going to be our solution.
Okay, great. I'm going to work on that.
But remember, if you live in Florida and in New Jersey, then you have a Florida address. That's great. So as long as you have an address, you get what I'm saying, because this is not insurance. Because I could tell just looking at you, I knew this time of the year, all that money you got, you're not New Jersey this time of the year. All the other successful people. So you could sign up as a customer in Florida. Just use your passport, right? Your passport, and then here's my address in Florida. I'm going to link one more thing, Mark, I didn't talk about, and I know we're over time. Undocumented people that have a tax ID number can get health coverage. As long as they have a tax ID number. So Impact will help them as well. Mexico and other places that, somebody might be here, working, if you will, as a roofer, and they have a tax ID, they can become a customer.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick. And a lot of people are muted. So if you enjoyed this presentation and appreciated Patrick, just raise your hand as I say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for attending the call, everybody. And we'll see you Thursday for a big look at next year. Thank you, everybody.